Hello everyone. This is your friend from Naruto Audio Fanfics, and we are back once again with a brand new fanfic. Which is what if Naruto was forced into an arranged marriage with powerful Kunoichi, Naruto times Yugito times Temari times Fu times Mei times Kuretsuchi, Part 2. If you enjoy this story, don't forget to hit the like button, thumbs up, and subscribe to the channel for more amazing Naruto fanfics like this. So without wasting any more time, let's start today's fanfic. Orochimaru was in a large, ovoid room. He was standing, with difficulty, on a sharp protrusion, while going through hand signs. A single silhouette appeared before him on another sharp figure that was hard to distinguish, with little else to identify it other than purple eyes with a ripple pattern. How are you able to contact us? We took your ring away. Straight to the point then. I have my ways of getting into contact with people. But more importantly, I need your help, and I can help you. The figure was silent for a while. Continue. There are 5 Jinchuriki currently residing in Konoha, as well as the Uchiha that I need for my new body. I plan to sway him to my side, but Konoha is going to try to chase him down. Konoha has almost no manpower at the moment, and if they are smart, they'll use the Jinchuriki. Orochimaru paused, to make sure that the figure was still with him. Seeing a nod, he continued, I'll send my bodyguards, to sway and carry him back to Sound. When they are being pursued, they'll split off in an attempt to stall for time, and if the Leaf have any brain cells left, they'll split off as well. Creating perfect opportunities for your operatives to capture the Jinchuriki. Orochimaru used to belong to Akatsuki, so he knew how they operated. The reason that they were split into 2-man cells was so they could keep track of each other better than if there were more. Having many different S-rank shinobi running around and throwing out huge wide-scale attacks would increase the amount of friendly fires exponentially. Also, there was a need for at least 2 operatives to a given Jinchuriki, any less and they run the risk of having casualties among the organization. Having 10 Akatsuki members and 5 Jinchuriki running around, fighting each other all at the same time would be a complete and utter, so there was a need to separate them from each other and combat them individually. Orochimaru knew that, and made his plan sound as enticing as he could. The Akatsuki weren't planning on capturing the Jinchuriki for a while, but the chance at getting 5 at the same time would be too much for them to pass up. Orochimaru was a shrewd, cunning bastard. The model shinobi. The figure sat in thought for a long time. How strong are your bodyguards? At least A rank level, when fully powered. The figure thought for a longer time still. I will send 5 of my operatives, but your bodyguard unit will have to help in the capturing of the Jinchuriki. An understandable notion. After all, only fools put all their eggs into one basket. Excellent. Orochimaru said, practically salivating. When will your bodyguard unit take the Uchiha? Just be around the border to the land of rice paddies next morning to afternoon. And intervene how you see fit. Keep your end of the bargain, Orochimaru. The figure knew how slippery and conniving the snake was. I will be happy to, so long as the Uchiha makes it to the village hidden in Sound, my bodyguards will help you take the Jinchuriki. He left the room, and got onto the back of the imposing shinobi that was waiting outside. He would have to change his orders to the Sound Force slightly, but it should all go accordingly to plan. Konoha proper. Kuretsuchi was still slightly steamed. She was holding onto her shopping bags very tightly, signifying anger. I don't know what you're so mad about, the pink enhances your eyes. Temari said. Indeed, wearing pink clothing did bring Kuretsuchi's pink irises out, which made her look far more feminine and pretty. But Kuretsuchi didn't like that. Pink as a color has nowhere it could be successful as camouflage. Orange helps blend in with rocks during the morning and evening, blues help blend in at higher climates, beige helps blend in with the sand, reds and browns help blend in with darker rocks. But pink is a color that could never help to conceal someone, and I hate that so much. Not only that, but I hate the color pink, and bright neon pink is the absolute worst. Why do you hate pink? Yugito asked, disinterestedly. Because it makes me look feminine, and I'm not feminine. You could say that again. Temari said under her breath. What was that? Kuretsuchi asked belligerently. You're digging yourself deeper. Wait, you said that you didn't like femininity, so what I just said is actually a compliment. It didn't sound like a compliment. It sounded like a dig. Temari sighed. You have to stop letting people get to you so much. you're going to die of an aneurysm at a young age. Whatever you say, you stoic. A tick mark appeared on Temari's forehead. What was that? Isn't stoicism a compliment to a high-caliber shinobi such as yourself? Kuretsuchi said in the most insincere tone possible. I'm not a stoic. Oh please, you're an emotional black hole. I do plenty of fun and emotional things. Kuretsuchi grabbed the bags that she had in her right hand with her left hand, then raised her hand and put up 3 fingers. Name 3. I like flora appreciation. Kuretsuchi ticked down 1 finger. I like training. Doesn't count. Grr. I like spending time with my family. Albeit, this was a fairly new hobby. Kuretsuchi ticked another finger down. Yua. I like. Temari was at a loss for words. Kuretsuchi was waiting for an answer. Whatever. I'm not a stoic. Whatever you say, Stoic-chan. Whatever you say, Pinkatsuchi-chan. What did you call me? Yugito looked on with a light smile on her face. It was kind of fun listening to their interactions. A slightly disarming thought, since they were sister wives. But true nonetheless. A gout of flames appeared on the rooftop of the building that they were next to. Yugito quickly looked. It was a hospital. Her shinobi senses kicked in, and she raced up the walls of the building, with Temari and Kuretsuchi racing alongside her. They were on the floor under the roof when the flames went out. When they reached the roof, they were met with a strange sight. Their husband was holding down a shinobi with the Sharingan, in an arm hold, with Fu looking on appreciatively, and Jiraiya of the Sannin looking on in slight surprise. Is that the last Uchiha? Yugito asked. She had fought several Uchiha in the Third War, they were difficult opponents. She heard about the massacre, and was slightly relieved at the news that there were only 2 left. However, now she was looking at the one survivor that stayed in Konoha, which unnerved her quite a bit. Huh. Naruto turned around and looked at them in surprise. When did you guys get here? We were surprised when the roof of a hospital suddenly caught fire, so we jumped in to help. Yugito said. Oh, hee, sorry. That's Tem's fault here. Naruto said, releasing Sasuke. You know the last Uchiha? Kuretsuchi asked. They're teammates. Temari told her. Huh. Wow kid, you are connected. Yup. Oh, Tem. They are Yugito, Temari, and Pinkatsuchi. Kuretsuchi. Tomato. If glares could kill, Sasuke would be committing genocide. Oi. What's wrong Tem? I beat you fair and square. Now you have no choice to consider me your equal. Naruto said with a cheeky grin. Like I'd do that. Failure. Sasuke tried to get up, but failed, and fell down. The fall from such heights had been particularly bad on his legs. Naruto caught him, made a clone, and passed off Sasuke to the clone to bring downstairs, next to Kakashi. Sasuke was trying to punch the clone off of him, but the clone was having none of it. Jiraiya sighed. I'll go get Tsunade. He flickered away. She was in surgery, but he didn't know that. Fu walked up to Naruto. When you said he was you weren't kidding. He usually isn't that bad, I swear. He put on a slightly sad look. Sigh whatever, so what did you guys do today? He said. Well, we went shopping, to replace all of the clothes you ruined. She said vindictively. And I went training, to reclaim the pride I had, which you destroyed when you detoweled me in front of my friends. So we're even. When 2 people enter a prank war, things never get even. And then one who does concede equality, is always the loser. Kuretsuchi huffed, and looked away. She wasn't going to concede. The 3 others looked slightly amused by their interactions. Jiraiya flickered back. She's working on that Lee kid now. So I called a med nin. Why does he need a med nin? He's in bad shape, but come on. We need as many shinobi to lighten the load of mission taking as possible, and having the lone Uchiha on mission saves face. So the Tem gets special treatment, huh? Yup. Being the last of line kind of does that to you. What about me? I'm the last Namikaze and the last Uzumaki. Why don't I get special treatment? Says the kid with 4 wives. Naruto blushed and looked to the side. That's a punishment and you know it. Hey kid, what do you mean when you say that? Kuretsuchi said, with a scary look on her face, while cracking her knuckles. Reet, these are the faces of pure joy and happiness, aren't they? He said, gesturing to the rest of his harem, who looked slightly uncomfortable. You got a smart mouth, kid. And you've got a slow one. They glared at each other. Lightning appeared between their eyes. Pervy sage, are you sure we can't get these marriages annulled? I don't think I can handle spending the rest of my life with her. Not if you want war. Holy. Okay. Explain to me, in detail, why these marriages will end war as we know it. The four others listening wanted to know as well. Jiraiya sighed. You've been told why. If the common citizens and shinobi see the people that they look up to acting nice with each other, then they'll see that it isn't that difficult, and at the very least, they'll try to make it work as well. Why can't we just hang out with each other? Why do we have to be married? Kid, your marriage is a symbol. The symbol for a long-lasting relationship between the nations. Naruto looked steamed, but relented. Bah, fine. And who knows, kid, you might learn to like them. He said with wiggling eyebrows. All five of them blushed slightly. You make all females wary of your presence. Tamari said, summing up Jiraiya's character perfectly. Perfectly put, Stoic-chan. Kuritsuchi said with a grin. Fu gave a quiet laugh at the nickname. Shut up, Pinkatsuchi. Fu gave a not-so-quiet laugh at the nickname. See, you five are bonding already. Jiraiya said with a smile. Naruto decided not to rise to the jab. Why are you here? I wanted to check up on how you're doing mentally. Your whole sulking episode was kind of concerning. But you seem to be fine, so I'll take my leave. Jiraiya flickered away. I think that after learning who my parents were, and then finding out that I'll never find love, I deserve a little sulking time. Naruto said to himself, through clenched teeth. Naruto sighed, an affliction which he seemed to be much more prevalent as of late. So what are you guys going to do? Train, I guess. Kuritsuchi said. I could go for some training. Tamari said, in agreement. Yugito nodded. We can start your training in counter evasion. Fu said. Woot. Thanks, Fu. Hee. Now you owe me two. What? You owe me one for the parrying, now you owe me one for the counter evasion. Naruto sighed. You drive a hard bargain, Fu. Okay. Let's go. Hospital room. Sasuke was on the new bed, seething. Kakashi was in the bed next to him, awake now, and reading his ever-present. What happened? Quote. Kakashi looked up from his, and asked again in a more severe tone, what happened? Naruto beat me. Oh, I'm too weak. He just gets stronger, and I stay the same. I can never enact my vengeance the way I am. Not even the Chidori could beat Naruto. You used the Chidori on Naruto. Kakashi sighed, then closed his book. Sasuke, Naruto is a fellow shinobi of the Hidden Leaf. Don't ever use an assassination technique on comrades. Sasuke seethed some more. You should give up on getting revenge for your clan. Sasuke looked at Kakashi in fury. Nobody ever feels fulfilled from vengeance. It consumes their lives, and when they finally have their vengeance, they come to the sudden realization that they have nothing else. How do you know how I feel? Perhaps if I killed every person who was close to you, then you'd have an inkling of empathy to how I feel. You scoff at my feelings, but if all your friends were dead, perhaps you'd feel slightly like how I do. You couldn't kill any of the people precious to me. Sasuke looked at Kakashi darkly. After all, they're already dead. And if I wanted to kill the person responsible, I'd have to commit suicide. Sasuke looked shocked. Kakashi got up from his bed and uttered nonchalantly, I have to go pick up my next mission. This left Sasuke alone, in his room, with four figures looking at him, the building across from him. Hospital, different room. Sakura woke up just in time to see the nurse making the bed that Sasuke left behind. Where's Sasuke? She asked weakly. Oh, you're awake. I believe he went up to the roof with his two visitors. Visitors. A blonde boy who said he was the Uchiha's teammate, and his friend. Sakura began to get up with slight difficulty. Are you okay? Yeah, I'm fine. I just need to stretch a bit. Once she was up, she began to walk to stairs to the roof. Sakura was just able to catch Naruto and his merry harem before they left to train. Hey, Naruto. Oh, hey Sakura. You haven't met before, have you? He asked rhetorically. This is Sakura. And this is Yugito, Tamari, Fu, and Pinkatsuchi. Kuritsuchi. Tomato. Can I talk to you for a minute? Naruto. Sakura asked. You sure? He didn't move. In private. Oh, I was just about to go and train. It's okay, Naruto. You can just catch up later. Fu said with an upbeat tone. Okay. Naruto followed Sakura out the door. Why did you do that? I was this close to pounding him into a fine paste with the pretense of training, and you ruined it. Said Kuritsuchi. That's the girl that he's in love with. Fu said severely. Oh. Never mind then. Let's just go. Kuritsuchi said. She may have wanted to grind the kid to dust, but even she knew when to draw the line. The four of them jumped off the rooftop, and went in search of a proper training ground. So where do you want to go? Naruto asked Sakura. They were walking out of the hospital, and proceeded to walk at a slow pace. Ichiraku Ramen. Remember, you asked me out for a date there. Sakura said in a subdued tone. Oh, yeah, sorry, a lot's been happening to me recently. Like what? You'll find out at Tsunade's inauguration. Sakura thought that was weird, but chose not to comment. They continued their walk at a slow pace. An uncomfortable silence dropped upon them as they walked to Ichiraku. When they got there, Sakura was still silent. Even as she got her order. Naruto started slurping his ramen loudly. So what did you want to talk about? He asked. It's just, Sasuke's been kinda different lately. She said slowly. Yeah, a little, I guess. She stayed silent. Hey, why do you love Sasuke? She lost her slightly depressed look, and turned to Naruto severely. I'm not going to give up on him. He raised his hands. I don't expect you to. It's just, I want to understand, that's all. She adopted a dreamy look. Because he's cool, and strong, and he never backs down. Sakura paused. And whenever I'm near him, I feel like I'm a little stronger. I know that I'm weak compared to you too. But when I'm near Sasuke, I feel like I can be stronger. I feel like I'm already a little stronger. Naruto sat in silence. Thanks, Sakura. For what? I think that I finally understand you. You won't have to worry about me asking you on any dates anymore. Naruto said. He slapped some money on the table, enough for both him and Sakura. Why? I mean, it's not that I want you to, it's just, why? You'll find out at Tsunade's inauguration. Naruto said mysteriously. Their date had taken a considerable amount of time considering the amount of time the walk consumed. It was already dark, and Naruto knew that any training now would be pointless. He headed out in the direction of his house, leaving Sakura to start home. When she had just reached her house, she got a sinking feeling in her gut that told her to go to the gates of Konoha. Somewhere in her subconscious, she knew that something bad was going to happen. Naruto opened the door to his house. Nobody was home yet. He opened a package of spaghetti, and started some simple red sauce. The blonde cooked more than he could eat, and set the rest on the side for when his housemates showed up. He couldn't think of them as his wives. They didn't interact like a husband and wives should. So for now, they're his friends, and housemates. Naruto climbed into Yugito's bed, he was sure that she wouldn't mind. He was also really sore from the day's activities, and he didn't think that he could stand sleeping on the couch again. About an hour later and his wives arrived, beat, and tired. They all just nuked the spaghetti, and climbed into their respective beds. Yugito smiled down on Naruto, he looked so peaceful in his sleep. She quickly stripped, and put on her pajamas. Then glomped onto Naruto for the night, she was a cuddler after all. Sasuke Uchiha has defected from the village, so I'm ordering you to make a team, chase him down, and bring him back to Konoha. He's expected to have companions of Orochimaru along with him. Shikamaru seemed to fumble his words for half a second. But quickly regained composure. I request a team consisting of only Jonin and Chunin. Can't. We have only the barest minimum of Chunin and Jonin residing in Konoha at the moment. You'll have to choose a team on your own. Remember, speed is of the essence. Shikamaru nodded, and made to leave. Oh, wait. Tsunade was considering over whether or not she should get Shikamaru to recruit Naruto. He lives in the same house as his harem, and if Naruto flies off the cuff, he might convince some of them to join him. If any of them die or get seriously injured, it could be a huge diplomatic incident. But then again, an Orochimaru that has the eyes of the Sharingan could be far worse than a political shitstorm, and Naruto might be the only one able to persuade Sasuke back to Konoha. She wrote down something on a piece of paper. Go to this address, it's Naruto's new residence. Shikamaru nodded again. And another thing, we'll continually send reinforcements as we find them. Shikamaru left administration and headed to Naruto's house. The house seemed lively, considering the shouting that was taking place inside. Shikamaru walked up to the door and knocked on it. The shouting was stopped, as he heard footsteps walking to answer the door. It was the extremely imposing Cloud Jonin that opened it up. She was obviously in a bad mood. This surprised Shikamaru quite a bit, he didn't know that she was staying with him. But he didn't comment, as he was working with very little time, and couldn't waste any on idle chit-chat. She was also wearing Neko pajamas, he idly noticed. Is this Naruto's residence? He asked. Yeah, she said warily. Come in. Shikamaru had just meant to talk to Naruto outside, but he felt compelled under the Neko pajama woman's gaze to follow her instructions. Inside he found Naruto sitting across from the Iwa Nin, Kuritsuchi, if he remembered correctly. Looking on at them was the waterfall Kunoichi, Fu, the cloud Kunoichi, Yugito, and the sand Kunoichi, Temari. Yugito looked like she was in the process of berating Naruto and Kuritsuchi when he interrupted. As evidenced by the fact that both were looking solemnly at the table, and that Naruto was covered head to toe in shaving cream. What did you want, Shikamaru-san? Yugito asked. I came to tell Naruto that I'm recruiting him for a mission to go and retrieve Sasuke, who just deserted last night. Naruto's eyes widened considerably. What? Speed is of the essence, and we may encounter enemies of unspecified strength. If you need time to get ready, then meet me at the gates as soon as you can. Manpower is low, so you'll have to be at your best. Shikamaru promptly left to find more recruits. Naruto looked dumbstruck, but quickly ran up to the shower. Yugito walked up to her room to begin putting on her ninja gear. After she was done, which didn't take any time at all, she walked sedately back to the kitchen area. Where are you going? Kuritsuchi asked brusquely. I'm getting ready for the mission. He only specified that Naruto could go. Fu said quietly. He also specified that they're low on manpower. Okay. He'd probably accept you as part of his team. But why are you going? You don't have to. Temari asked. I'm going in order to protect Naruto. You're going because of him. Why? Kuritsuchi asked. Because, to me, he's a precious person. Kuritsuchi's mouth was agape. And just when did that happen? 2 nights ago. Yugito said sheepishly. She's been doing a lot of things uncharacteristic of her as of late. Such as being sheepish, or showing embarrassment. So you did the kid. Yugito's cheeks turned a slight shade of red. No, I didn't. Why are you always thinking that? Oh please, he became your precious person, Kuritsuchi said with no small amount of sarcasm. On the night that you two started sleeping together. You are so him, you Shotokan. Yugito pinched the bridge of her nose and let out a sigh. We are not having relations. I just don't feel comfortable knowing that he's sent on a mission to retrieve a traitor, while fighting foes of unspecified strength on low manpower. Not only that, but if he dies, there would be an international incident. She said. I'm going too, Fu said. Why are you going? Kuritsuchi asked incredulously. Because, he's my friend. Even if we're married, he's my friend, I think. I've never had a friend before, but I think that the connection I have with him is friendship. So I'm going to protect him. Fu also went upstairs to get her ninja gear, who was soon followed by Temari. Not you too, Kuritsuchi said. Words could not be able to accurately describe the feeling that Kuritsuchi was having right then. Of being sane in an insane world might come close to the feeling. If he dies on this mission, there would be a huge diplomatic incident. If he dies on this mission, we wouldn't have to be stuck in a loveless marriage anymore. This marriage could help in leading the world to peace. Temari said in a tone that spoke of finality, and continued to walk to her room to get her tools. Kuritsuchi belted out a mighty sigh. Fine, you stoic, I'll go too. She said to herself. Kuritsuchi also went to get geared up. When Naruto burst out of his room, dressed, and bolted towards the door, he was met with his wives, all dressed in shinobi gear. What are you guys doing? He asked. We're going with you, shithead. Was Kuritsuchi's courteous reply. Why? I'm going in order to protect my precious person. Yugito said with a light smile. I'm going in order to protect my friend. Fu said with a big, Naruto-esque grin. I'm going in order to protect the peace of the nations. Temari said blankly. I have absolutely no idea why I'm going. Kuretsuchi said with a defeated tone. Naruto's eyes would have teared up if he had the time, however, he was working on borrowed time as it was. Alright, let's go. Naruto burst out of his room and headed to the gates, with his harem in tow. At the gates, he was met with the sight of Shikamaru, Kiba, and Akamaru, his sister Hana, and her dog trio Tenten, Hinata, and Neji. Quite the motley crew indeed. Who are they? Hana asked, referring the foreign Kunoichi with Naruto. We're diplomats from different villages that have come to help. Tamari said. Tenten looked at Tamari with slight concern, but didn't sense any malicious intent, so chose not to speak up. Having her back practically broken in half during the Chunin exams didn't make her particularly trusting of the Sand Kunoichi. I'm going to need a full report of everybody's battle skills. We'll talk as we run. Hinata and Neji, you bring up the rear and provide scouting details with your Byakugan. Kiba and Hana, you stay up front to track the scent. Shikamaru stated in a professional tone. They all nodded, and were all about to take off when Sakura ran up from the main road, to Naruto. There were tears in her eyes. Naruto. Please, please bring back Sasuke. She dropped to her knees and began to cry in earnest. Naruto looked on with slight solemnity in his expression. Don't worry. Even if I have to break his arms, and carry him all the way to Konoha, I'll bring him back. Naruto said, and gave her a great, big, eye-blinding smile. In order to reassure her, he turned around and took off before he could see her reaction. Everyone else, sans Sakura, ran after him. The Sasuke retrieval mission had started. Tell me when you have the scent. Shikamaru told Kiba and Hana. They both nodded. Okay. Everyone tell me your battle skills. Tenten. I specialize in the art of ninja tools, and use my sealing scrolls to hide them all. In ninja tools, I make best use of thrown weapons. Kiba. I specialize in tracking and the use of Inuzuka-specific jutsu. Hana. I also specialize in tracking and the use of Inuzuka jutsu. However, I'm also a trained medic. Fu. I'm a support fighter, but I also am skilled with kenjutsu. Fu didn't feel like it was necessary to divulge the secret of her being a Jinchuriki. Kuretsuchi. I carry the lava bloodline limit, and can use it to make poisonous gas. I also know some earth jutsu for various ranges, and I'm also good at kenjutsu. Tamari. I'm a long-range support fighter, and I use my battle fan to amplify my wind-based attacks. Hinata. I use my Byakugan to help use my gentle fist taijutsu style. Neji. I do as well. Naruto. I can create shitloads of clones, and I'm really good at stalling the enemy. Yugito. I know many different body modification jutsu. I am skilled in kenjutsu, ninjutsu, some genjutsu, and rudimentary healing jutsu. I mostly use fire jutsu, and I'm extremely agile. Yugito also left out her status as a Jinchuriki. I've picked up the trail. There are 5 different scents, Hana said. Good. Let's pick up the pace. Hinata. Neji, tell me about anything that you can see ahead of us. Shikamaru said. I can see 2 injured ninja about a half of a kilometer to the left of us, making their way to Konoha. Hinata said. We can't waste time to deviate the trail. We'll have to leave them alone. They soon came up to a site where a small battle took place. This must be where the 2 ninja got injured. Yugito stated. We keep on moving. Hinata. Neji. I can't see anything. Hinata answered. Neither I. He looked at Kiba and Hana. The scent's still here, but it's changed, become foul. Akamaru doesn't like it. Yeah, and I smell something else as well, something different. Some things that are different, Hana said. I don't like this. It's so troublesome, Shikamaru said. We move on, but keep your senses about you. These are companions of Orochimaru. We don't know what tricks they have up their sleeves. Almost as soon as they left towards the scent, Neji spoke up. I can see them, faintly, a couple of clicks away from us. They're resting. Okay. We're going to advance care. Shikamaru stopped, and put his hands into the rat seal, shadow paralysis, stopping Naruto from taking another step. There was a piece of thread directly under him. Okay. Also be wary of traps. Hinata. Call out any traps that you see directly in front of us. Why yes. They began to move a much slower pace than before. Kidomaru sat up straight. We're being followed. What? How the did anyone fall for your obvious as shit trap? Yuya asked. I set second and third tier string traps under the first ones. But that doesn't matter. We're being followed. How many? Jirobo asked. Kidomaru was silent for a couple of moments. At least 8. Probably more. Sakan sighed. Well, at least we have the Akatsuki helping us out. Are we really being chased by 5 Jinchuriki? I know the Akatsuki is strong as shit, but still. 5 Jinchuriki is a lot to beat the shit out of. And we also have to help capture them. Yuya sighed explosively. This plan has so many holes in it. Like what if they didn't send any goddamn Jinchuriki? From what I hear, the Akatsuki operates for Jinchuriki and money, and we don't got any money. Konoha is down shinobi as it is, and they don't know that we have the Akatsuki with us. It would make sense that they'd send them. Kidomaru said. And since when has Konoha operated on what strictly makes sense? Sakan asked. RRRRG. I don't know, and I don't care. We already have the Uchiha. Kidomaru gestured to the weird-looking barrel by his side. And we already have the Akatsuki helping us out. So we just have to go with the plan, and hope for the best. Kidomaru got up, and grabbed a hold of the barrel. Let's go set the ambush in the clearing up ahead. When the retrieval team was about to enter the clearing, Shikamaru held up his hand, signaling to stop. Neji, Byakugan. They're there waiting for us. 4 are standing. 1 is crouched in a barrel. I think. And there are 2 more to the side of them. I thought there were only 5. Shikamaru looked to Hana for an explanation. The 2 to the side must have not come with the 4. So who are they? Shikamaru asked. I don't know, but their chakra is really powerful. Hinata said. Troublesome. If we rush them, we might beat them with numbers, but we don't know how powerful they are. They also have set up an ambush of some sort, so we can't. Shikamaru was interrupted by the flying 3-bladed scythe that he was forced to dodge from. I can't take it anymore. Blood for Jashin-sama. A man wearing Akatsuki robes, with slicked back silver hair appeared before the group with a manic grin marring his face. The retrieval team ran into the clearing, in order to get a better picture of what was going on. But they were interrupted by a large man with a mohawk, hefting a boulder that would definitely be large enough to squash all of them at once. He threw it at them, seemingly with an ease that bespoke of great strength. Kuretsuchi went through hand seals, and shouted out, Earth Dome. Several slabs of rock covered all of the retrieval team from the harm the giant boulder. However, the amount of chakra that needed to saturate the jutsu to make it strong enough that the boulder didn't crush it was fairly large, and Kuretsuchi was slightly winded from the effort. Jirobo ran up to the dome that Kuretsuchi made, went through some hand seals, and shouted out, Earth Dome of Nothingness. More rocks burst from the ground, and covered the dome, creating a second shell that encompassed the first. The members inside the dome began to feel their chakra seeping away. Kuretsuchi had the worst of it, because she had to continually feed her chakra into the dome that she made to make sure that it didn't lose the chakra supporting it and fall down, crushing them. Yugito, quickly thinking, jumped on the roof of the dome, and extended her nails into extremely long, thin, and sharp points. Naruto, get a Rasengan. He nodded and spawned a clone to start creating the Rasengan, while she started shoving and slashing her long nails into the top of the ceiling, quickly destroying the top of Kuretsuchi's dome, and biting into the ceiling of Jirobo's dome. The dome on top of the other dome started to heal itself, however. Not expecting this, she gave a few more, extremely chakra-enhanced slashes into the dome, some even breaking surface, and screamed, now. She jumped down to give Naruto a clear shot. Naruto jumped up, and shoved the Rasengan into the ceiling of the dome, drilling into the weak parts that Yugito created, and with a huge explosion of concussive force, blew the top of the dome up, and outwards. The sides of both shells of the domes fell down, not harming anyone. Hidan was waiting for them, however, and thrust the top 2 blades of his scythe into Naruto's chest cavity. The Naruto impaled on his scythe poofed into smoke. Yugito rushed Hidan, with both her hand claws and her feet claws extended. She went for an overhead slash at his scythe, which he blocked. But he wasn't expecting her to suddenly grab onto the blunt part of the scythe, and use it as leverage to ram her feet claws into his lower abdomen. He jumped back with no discernible difficulty, which was strange considering that he had 10 puncture marks in his abdomen, which went straight through his body. Kakuzu was looking on from the sidelines. That was smart thinking. The woman cut into the top of the dome and got the brat to launch his jutsu there, so that the dome wouldn't fall and crush them. She also seems rather dexterous and capable. The Nibi might be difficult to take down. The retrieval team jumped out of the remains of the dome, giving him a better look at what the team was comprised of. Kakuzu narrowed his eyes. I only count 3 Jinchuriki. This is going to complicate matters. The 3 other Sound Guard unit made a great show of making off with the Uchiha, and leaving Jirobo behind with Hidan. Just like they were ordered to. They're getting away, Naruto shouted. Shikamaru looked at the opponents appraising ly. We can't waste time fighting the two. Even if we have the superior numbers, they might specialize in delaying the enemy, which would explain why they were left behind. Kuretsuchi seemed to be having similar thoughts. I'll stall the fatty and the religious nut. You go after the Uchiha. You can't do it alone, you're exhausted. Shikamaru said. She dug into her pouch, whipped out a soldier pill, and promptly swallowed it. I'll be fine. Go. I'll stay too, Hinata said timidly. Kuretsuchi looked at her, then turned back to Jirobo and Hidan. I got the nut, you get the fatty. Hinata nodded in agreement. Kakuzu didn't want to leave Hidan in charge of a Jinchuriki by himself, because he just knew that Hidan was going to try and kill it. However, it appeared that there was no Jinchuriki amongst the two fighting Hidan. Kakuzu silently followed the Sound Guard, slightly to the side, and completely out of sight. Shikamaru looked at them with grave eyes, but quickly averted them. All right, let's go. The retrieval team went after the rest of the Sound Guard. Hinata's eyes lingered on Naruto's form up until he vanished into the tree line. They snapped to Hidan and Jirobo. Kuretsuchi, Hinata, Jirobo, and Hidan were all waiting in anticipation for the other to make the first move. Hidan, however, didn't have much patience at all. He rushed at Kuretsuchi with his scythe in hand. She quickly brought out her sword and swung to meet her opponent's instrument. While they were in a lock, Jirobo picked up another, slightly smaller, boulder, and hurled it at Hinata. She ran to meet it, ducked under the rock at the last second, and continued to run towards him. She extended her hands in preparation of the gentle fist. He charged at her with his torso hunched forward, and his arms covering his chest and abdomen. Hinata swung her palm at his midsection, but he didn't stop, and barreled into her, knocking her to the side. She quickly righted herself and charged at him again. He went for the same tackle maneuver as before. He had the advantage due to his superior body weight and momentum, which she wouldn't be able to sufficiently stop with her minute body size, even with the ability of the gentle fist. She knew that she wouldn't be able to attack him with him charging her like that, so when they were about to collide, she instead dove to the side, and struck him in the right leg, closing a few tenketsu points. He grunted in pain, his movements were significantly hampered, and he wouldn't be able to run with that leg anymore. She had gained the advantage. Back with Hidan and Kuretsuchi, they were trading blows with their weapons. Hidan had far greater strength with wielding the scythe, and was extremely skilled with using his. However, Kuretsuchi had speed and maneuverability, which she took extreme advantage of. Most of his swings were dodged or parried altogether, but she wasn't able to get any shots in, because he had the greater reach. He was fighting like a person who had nothing to lose, like a person with a death wish, and had absolutely no concept of the word risk. Hidan would run up to her, and get directly in her guard, just to get the chance to hit her. She wouldn't take the risks as the person who had just recently been skewered. He was even still bleeding profusely from the midsection. Something was wrong with him. No, something was wrong about him. Maybe he's immune to pain. A strike to a vital point could end this, she thought. He ran up to her again and swung his scythe horizontally. She ducked under the swing and, taking a risk, ran him through with her sword. Straight through his heart. Instead of falling over dead, Hidan just smirked cruelly. This was just what he was waiting for. While she was stuck within his guard, due to the sword that was lodged in his ribcage, he brought out a spike from his cloak with his left hand, and shoved it downward. Kuretsuchi let go of the sword, and backpedaled widely, to avoid the spike. He rushed at her again, and one-handedly swung his scythe in a diagonal arc. She hastily brought out a kunai and parried the blow, but was unprepared for the spike that came sailing for her midsection. She thrust her body violently to the side to avoid the spike, and almost stumbled over. However, she grabbed the sword that was still sticking out of his chest for support. The sword slipped out of his ribcage with a wet schlick, and she fell on the ground along with her support. Hidan took the initiative, and jumped on her torso, knocking the wind out of her chest. He tried to impale her, but she grabbed her sword and parried the spike to impale the ground next to her head. She swung wildly at his face, and managed to slice his nose clean off his head. A deluge of blood flowed out of the opening, and splattered her face and torso. He jumped off of her. There was not a look of pain or surprise on his features, but rather a look of triumph. He pulled up his spike, and licked the tip of it. She touched her face. It was covered in the blood of her enemy, but she could feel the small cut on her cheek. There was practically no blood at all on the spike after being impaled in the ground. However, there was evidently enough to proceed with his ritual. He made a circle on the ground with blood, which had a reversed triangle on the inside. Kunoichi was breathing heavily, and extremely shocked by her opponent. It wasn't every day that you fought a person who could survive being skewered in the abdomen 10 times, and the heart once, and could still not only stand, but seem unfazed by the downpour of blood from his empty nose socket. Without looking away, she called out to Hinata, "Wanna switch?" Hinata didn't speak, but only ran up to Hidan, and began to fight him. Kunoichi, confused by the amount of fervor that Hinata had in suddenly wishing to fight the freak that was Hidan, turned and looked behind her. She was almost crushed by the huge, red hand that swiped at her. A little bit earlier, after Hinata had disabled Jirobo's right leg, she ran up to him again, and began a taijutsu fight in earnest. He was still immensely strong, and one punch could mean the end of the spar. But she attacked him with all that she had, running up to him time and time again to try and hit all the points that she could before he was able to retaliate, only to dodge, parry, or jump back, and try again. His punches and kicks were at first fast, well placed, and done with great strength. But as they continued to fight, his attacks slowed down, they lost precision, and worst of all, they lost their strength. Hinata charged ahead once more, hoping to end the fight quickly, and swung her palm to his head. She wasn't expecting black markings to spread out over his whole body, and for him to regain all his composure that he lost during their fight. He caught the hand that was aiming for her head, swung the girl around, and threw her at the smaller boulder. She impacted the rock with a dull thud, and slid down to the ground. The brute ran forward and tried to kick her into the rock, but she was able to just scramble away in time. The rock that she had been laying against was turned into gravel, destroyed by the power of the kick that Jirobo possessed. Her entire body ached just from the impact from the boulder. If she was kicked into it, she would have been turned into a fine paste. Hinata slowly got up from the ground, and back into her fighting pose. Jirobo charged her, and swung for her head. His strength wasn't the only thing that improved, as evidenced when Hinata barely managed to lean her head to the side and avoid losing her thinking organ. He swung his leg upwards, which she managed to avoid by leaning backwards. Hinata cartwheeled backwards, hoping to regain her balance. He charged her again, and tried the punch-kick combo again, but she was prepared for it, and dove to the side of him. She quickly got back up and started striking all of the points that she could while he was still turned away from her. She was shocked to find out that only the strikes that didn't go through the markings on his body were able to shut down the tenketsu. The gentle fist operated by striking points on the body that would restrict chakra flow. This was done with by shoving chakra needles into the body and striking the points directly. A way to counter the gentle fist was to cover the body with a layer of chakra. However, this was extremely chakra intensive, and if the gentle fist user was able to create needles stronger than the chakra cloak, then it would have been for naught. It would appear that the markings of the curse seal are physical manifestations of an external source of power, however they also contain a chakra strong enough in them to block the gentle fist strikes. Which meant that Hinata was at another severe disadvantage. She jumped away from him, and re-evaluated her situation. If she were able to strike enough points in one go, while avoiding the markings, she would be able to end the fight. Even though he was wearing clothes, the markings held enough chakra to be visible to her by a Kugan. This might be tricky to pull off. She created a hand seal and shouted, "Clone." Immediately 4 clones of her exact likeness started to circle Jirobo. They all shouted out in unison, 8 fields of hake, 32 palms. Jirobo didn't know where to defend from, so he charged the one straight in front of him and struck at it, which whooshed into air, dispelling the clone. He turned around to face the 4 other incoming Hanatas. In an effort to dispel the clones, Jirobo stomped on the ground, creating a mini earthquake. This dispelled the 3 normal clones, but he miscalculated. His foot was stuck in the ground, so he wasn't able to maneuver around the Hinata that was charging him. He crossed his arms in front of his chest to protect his vitals from the blows. She simply struck at points in the arms until they hung at his sides, and then started striking points on the torso, all the while maneuvering the cursed seal markings. When she was done, she jumped away from him and started to heave for air. That move had taken a lot out of her. She fished in her pocket for a soldier pill, and quickly swallowed it. Jirobo slowly fell to his side, not moving. That is, until his cursed seal markings began to merge together, in preparation for level 2. Hinata looked on, dumbfounded, and extremely afraid, when he got up. His skin was red, his hair had grown considerably, and he was covered in sores. Her Byakugan confirmed that the markings were merged, and creating a defensive chakra cloak around his form. She wouldn't be able to fight him and win. The one technique that she was good at was rendered useless. Wanna switch? She heard Kuritsuchi say. Hinata looked at her opponent. It was a man who was covered in puncture wounds, blood, and was missing his nose. He was also creating a circle of blood of his own blood, which was still falling in great amounts. A chilling opponent. An opponent that the gentle fist could be useful against. Without saying a word, she charged Hidan, leaving Jirobo to Kuritsuchi. He stepped into the circle of blood that he was making, and adopted a really chilling look. His skin turned ebony black, with white markings in the shape of a crude human skull structure. He took a spike that was in his hand, and tried to plunge into his chest cavity. Hinata didn't know why she rushed and attacked him to stop him from harming himself. Maybe it was that the opponent that she just fought had different battle tactics, maybe it was because she felt the feeling of impending doom emanating from his form, maybe it was because she just wasn't of a sane mind. The only thing that matters is that she did charge him. With the energy that the soldier pill had given her, she ran at him and quickly started striking any tenketsu point that she could hit. He didn't immediately notice her at first because he was too focused on Kuritsuchi's form, and the look of blood squirting out from her ruptured torso that he was anticipating to come from impaling himself. Hinata blindsiding him, and shutting down his tenketsu network had been such a great surprise to him, that he accidentally dropped his spike. He spat out. He took the scythe that was still in his right hand, and brought it down on the little girl. She tried to sidestep the giant scythe, but this only worked partially. The topmost scythe blade impaled her lower right abdomen, and was wrenched out painfully. Hinata cried out in great pain, as a fountain of blood cascaded out of the hole in her body. With one last, great, push of effort, she palmed his head, hitting a tenketsu that affected the amount of chakra going to the brain. It was a minor one, and only served to render him unconscious. That is, if he were a normal human being. Which he wasn't. His chakra flows abnormally slow while he's in his normal form, slow enough that a Byakugan user might mistake it for a corpse. However, his chakra flow sped up slightly while in his advanced, skelly form. This gave him just enough time to swing his scythe one again in Hinata's direction, before succumbing to unconsciousness. Hinata was hit once again, this time in her chest. The scythe lodged itself in her ribcage, so when Hidan fell down to unconsciousness, his scythe fell with him, and Hinata along with the instrument of death. Hinata was afforded one last thought before she fell to unconsciousness as well. I hope that I was of help to Naruto-kun. Jirobo took a swipe at Kuritsuchi, who quickly jumped away. They assessed each other. Kuritsuchi could guess from his appearance that he had gained a significant power-up, and the speed that he showed, as well as the strength that she could guess that he possessed made her want to sheath her sword. After all, it isn't very smart to run at a charging elephant with a sword, it's far more logical to just encase it in cement. She started to go through hand seals. Jirobo charged at her, with the intent of stopping her jutsu. But she kept on sidestepping, dodging, and jumping away from all of his attacks. After she went through all the seals, she could feel the ability to mold chakra start to slip away. She shouted out, congealing quicklime. Luckily the jutsu succeeded, and she blasted Jirobo in the face with quicklime powder. This had the effect of making him back away, and scream out in pain. The jutsu ate away at his skin, even with the curse marks helping to power him up. Kuretsuchi could feel the ability to use chakra slipping away from her, little by little. She didn't know the reason for this affliction, but what she did know was that she needed to end the fight quickly. Apparently, not only the ritual user's physical form was tied to the sacrifice, but also his chakra network. As his tenketsu started getting shut, so did hers. She drew her sword and prepared to charge him, not being able to feel the ability to control jutsu properly. He roared in pain and anger, deciding that he didn't like knowing the fact that she was still breathing, and wanted to change that as soon as he could. This mainly took the form of him rushing at her like a mad bull. Seeing no other option, she prepared herself and ran at him as well. She ducked under the fist that he sent towards her head, and thrust her sword upwards, and into his chest, directly cleaving his heart. She didn't expect the second fist that crashed into her torso, and sent her flying into a tree. Her ribcage was half caved in. Her spine was out of alignment. She couldn't breathe properly. She was in the largest amount of pain that she had ever been in her life. She couldn't think. Her feeling of chakra was slipping away, and she didn't know why. Kuretsuchi tilted her head upwards, and opened her eyes into slits. She could see Jirobo face down, on the ground, with a sword sticking out of his chest. He appeared dead, so how was he able to hit her that hard after having his heart cleaved? Kuretsuchi didn't know the answer. She was having a weird day, and only wanted to take a nap. So that's what she did. Neji, how's their battle going on? Shikamaru asked. I can't discern whether or not Kuretsuchi and Hinata have the advantage, or if those two freaks have it. Everyone's still alive, although, that religious freak's chakra is strange. How so? It looks like the chakra isn't moving, signifying death. But he is most certainly moving. Troublesome. How far ahead are the bodyguards? A click ahead of us. I can also see other chakra signatures separate to them. Neji had a conflicted look on his face. Shikamaru noticed the look. Don't worry, I'm sure that Hinata and that Iwanin can take care of a religious nut and a fat ass. This was said mostly for Neji's sake. Neji's face didn't change. She's a main branch member. I should have been there to protect her. We need you here. She'll be fine. Shikamaru was cut off when he received a face full of webbing. They all had ran headfirst into a web-like structure, with a man who had 3 sets of arms on a branch ahead of them. Tenten was able to unseal a kunai from one of her scrolls, and attempted to use it to saw off the webbing, but it held firm. Yugito as well, tried to cut off the webbing with her extended claws, but she didn't have any more luck than Tenten. You're wasting your time. That webbing is infused with my chakra, you can't break it with conventional methods. The spider-like man said. He proceeded to vomit up some shuriken made from the same stuff from the webbing. Looks like I get to play a fun game. Multi-shadow clones, Naruto shouted out. He had managed to bring his hands together in a cross seal while Kidomaru's attention was away from him. Although the shadow clones that he created were all stuck in the same webbing as he was. More little birdies, Kidomaru said with a grin. There were 6 Narutos in all. There's a 5 in 6 chance that you'll survive this throw. Kidomaru said with a grin. He threw the shuriken-like device at one of the clones. It popped. 4 in 5 chance. Pop. 3 in 4 chance. Pop. Kidomaru was stalling for time. 2 in 3 chance. Pop. 1 in 2 chance. Wow, you've got the luck of the fox, don't you? Pop. Kidomaru chuckled and started playing with the shuriken a bit. Tossing it up in the air. Doing tricks with it. The kind of stuff that was used to unnerve a hapless victim. I suppose that you're that lucky 1 out of 1. Kidomaru wound his arm back in preparation to throw the shuriken. But was stopped by a palm strike from Neji. Neji had figured out that since the webbing was infused with chakra, he could cut the threads using his gentle fist. While Spider-Man was occupied with Naruto, he secretly cut everyone loose from the trap, and ran to stop him. Everybody go on. I'll take care of this guy. A white bird flew into the general vicinity. Katsu. The bird blew up in a fiery explosion, making everybody scatter in different directions, and the webbing go up in flames. A man with long blonde hair done up in a ponytail landed on a branch next to Kidomaru. He was wearing the cloak of the Akatsuki, and had a manic expression on his face. How did you like my art? He asked. His eyes were scanning the team. What the? You almost blew me up too. Kidomaru asked incredulously. Oh, you should be proud that you almost got to be a part of my artwork. Yeah. Are all of you Akatsuki freaks? Says the with 6 arms. Kidomaru conceded. I'll help take them as well. Fu stated. She and Neji looked at each other, and nodded. Naruto looked at Fu's form. She was staring ahead at her enemy with a silent determination. She was brimming with confidence. Naruto had never seen her like that. Shikamaru nodded. Okay everyone, let's go. They all ran ahead to cut off the remaining bodyguards. Fu's and Neji's eyes didn't leave their opponents. Deidara grabbed something from his pocket, and started mumbling. Fu and Neji prepared themselves. Art is a singular moment of passion and fiery embracement. Art can never be contained by conventional means. Yeah, he pulled up his hands. There was a miniature owl, one of them. He threw it and put up a sign. It enlarged greatly and started flying to Neji's and Fu's location. Art is an explosion. Katsu. Fu and Neji jumped in opposite directions in order to avoid the blast. Kidomaru ran after Neji, while Deidara started priming another jutsu for Fu. This time when he put up his hands, there were 3 miniature balls in them. When he threw them, they all blasted apart into large amounts, even smaller spiders, and blanketed the area. Fu had a general idea of what would happen if she got close to one of the white pieces of clay, so she decided to try and trick the bomber's eyesight by strafing quickly between and around the trees. There were explosions that devastated the area around her, but it seemed that her idea of quick strafing had worked. He put his hands in his pockets again, which Fu took as the reload time, and decided to attack him. Going through the hand seals necessary, she shouted, "Water cutting blade." A blade of water appeared on her hand, growing to be about 3 feet in length. She rushed his location. He smirked and spat out, using his primary mouth, a glob of clay that transformed into a bird and flew at her. Fu's eyes widened, and she jumped to the ground floor from the branches, undoing the jutsu all the way. There was an explosion that seared her back, and cut off the upper half of the tree she was just on. She quickly regained her composure, and started scaling the trees again. Having the height advantage would make all of the difference in this battle. Up ahead on the tree that she was running up was a clay being in the shape of a small mammal. She immediately jumped to another tree in order to get as much distance from the bomb as she could. Only to be pushed back to the ground floor by an explosion on the tree that she escaped to. Fu regained her composure and looked around her surroundings. All of the trees near her were trapped. She wouldn't be able to get close enough to Deidara to be able to feasibly launch an attack on him. She immediately bolted and started looking for different trees that she could climb on. Spotting one, she started to run up it, only for the entire tree to turn into a pasty white. Knowing that was not a good sign, she launched herself off of it before it exploded and created a corona of concussive force and flames that flattened and burned all of the trees around it in a 50-feet radius. Fu was unfortunately caught up in the explosion, and sailed through the air, until she hit another tree and fell back to the ground. She was coughing, trying to get air back into her lungs, and soot blood out of them. This wasn't good. She had to get close to him to attack him, but he sabotaged all her attempts to do so. Fu couldn't see him, which might mean that he lost track of her, or it could mean that he just wasn't visible to her. She got up, and ran to his last known location. After arriving there, she began climbing up one of the trees. Anticipating that he would blow up the tree, she went through another set of hand seals, hiding in scale powder, and ventilated out yellowish powder, which quickly refracted the light to unbearable levels. She immediately jumped to another tree, and started climbing that one. There was an explosion, but it happened on the tree that she used to be climbing up, not the one that she had jumped to. The tree that she jumped from went up in an amount of flames that was disproportionate to the amount of explosives on it. Apparently her scale powder was explosive as well. Go figure. Her thinking was that he still relied on sight to figure out which explosive to detonate. So she used a jutsu that obscured the ability to see, and climbed up another tree that was within the lack of sight range, protecting herself from the bomb on the first tree, and climbing up to branch level on the second tree. She didn't, However, anticipate that her jutsu was explosive as well. Luckily enough, she cleared its blast range before it could cook her back. She couldn't see hide nor hair of Deidara, and was starting to get slightly worried. It was clear that his specialty was long-range combat, and that the only thing that she could do was close combat, creating a tricky situation. Either he would blow her up from afar, or she would get close enough to him that she could be able to take a shot at him. But in order to do that, she first had to find out where he was. An explosion rocked the world around her. She quickly latched onto another branch before she got blown down to the ground floor. Fu didn't think that she could pull off the sight-inhibiting trick again. She pulled herself up on the tree, and fled the scene. So he could see her, but she couldn't see him. That wasn't good for her. She tried extending the little chakra sensory ability that she had as far as she could but came up flat. Fu heard a whizzing to her right, and immediately jumped to her left. Another explosion blossomed just to her right, and seared her entire side. At this point, she was panting, tired, burned in several areas, and still having trouble breathing. While her enemy hadn't even been touched. All of the bombs that he had been throwing at her from after she lost sight of him had all come close to her, but still either blasted prematurely, or far enough away from her that she was able to dodge the explosion. Signifying that although he could see her, his vision was hampered. Fu didn't know whether this stemmed from the aftereffects of her jutsu, which she doubted, or if the trees were giving her natural cover. She leaned against a tree to catch her breath, and leaned her head back to get a look at the sky. Why is there a gull flying up there? I'm not even close to the ocean. Realization dawned on her. That wasn't a gull, it was just a really big bird made out of clay, which the mad bomber was probably riding on. It would explain why she couldn't find him, as well as why his bombs were less accurate. This was the worst possible battle scenario for her, being bombed from the sky, without any means to reach, much less combat the enemy. Wait, maybe she could reach the mad bomber. Hey Chome. When she talked to Chome for the first time, she was astounded by its affability. Apparently the seal used for keeping Chome in check was called the glass jar seal. Its main purpose is to keep the seven tails in check. However, it has another side effect. It allows Chome to see out of the seal and experience what its container feels. This allowed the seven tails to empathize with its container's feeling of loneliness, depression, and anger. So when they first met, the seven tails only wanted to create a good relationship with Fu. And thusly, it told Fu of the ability to communicate telepathically, with no need to enter and exit the mindscape. Yes, little larva, we're in a bit of trouble. Your chakra cloak manifests wings right. Once you reach the two-tailed state, yes. But you've never experienced what my chakra feels like, you'd get taken over by the anger. I thought that you didn't hate. Oh little larva, I don't hate you. We're both in this bad situation together. But I do hate, we all hate. If you take my chakra, you take my will, which contains my hate. Well, we don't have any other options. I need to beat that man to survive. In order to beat that man, I need your chakra. So if I want to survive, I need your chakra. Don't say that I didn't warn you. Despite the confident veneer that she put up with Chome, she was extremely afraid of that chakra. Wait, do you have any tips? Just remember why you fight, who you fight for. Little larva. An image of Naruto appeared before her eyes. I fight to protect the dreams of my friend. She heard Chome's wings buzz in approval. So you say, little larva. Fu felt a wrenching in her gut, and she suddenly didn't feel any of the aches of her battle. All of the pain from the burns faded away, she could breathe again, and she felt energetic. Fu felt good. The chakra that was warming her being started bubbling out of her skin. She could see it manifesting on her form, turning slightly sharper. She tried to flex her back muscles, and discovered the feeling of finding a new set of appendages, ones that controlled the newfound wings on her back. Fu felt anger, rage against all the indignities that she had to suffer due to her status as a Jinchuriki. Rage against the people who looked at her like her very presence was anathema to them. Rage against the world for creating her the way she was. But most importantly, rage against that of a bomber, who tried to hurt her best friend, her only friend, her Naruto. Deidara was having of a time trying to make art beautiful enough to show the world. Mostly because his canvas was running around the trees, and he found it difficult to accurately paint from such a high viewpoint. I knew I should have brought my mini scope, yeah. He continued to scan the treetops for any sign of the seven-tailed Jinchuriki. From the reports that he got from the lower Akatsuki agents, she didn't have any experience in controlling her tailed beast. So he was fighting a close-range fighter, with no means of flying, from the sky. Needless to say, he felt rather invincible. That is, until he saw a red speck on the treetops begin to grow to larger and larger. Deidara might have been batshit crazy, but he wasn't stupid enough to not know what a Jinchuriki's tailed form looks like. Shit, she isn't supposed to know how to fly. Yeah, her flight speed was alarmingly fast, so Deidara tried to outmaneuver her. This didn't work, mostly because of the fact that his bird was about as dexterous as a paralyzed sloth when compared to Fu's tailed state. She landed on the top of the bird, roared in Deidara's face, and shoved her arm up to the elbow in his torso. He only smiled, and turned into a pasty representation of the Mad Bomber. She jumped off the bird, however the clone was stuck fast to her arm. She tried to swat it away, but only managed to cleave off the lower body of the clone, the rest of it exploded. She was blasted across the sky, trying to regain her composure. It was rather difficult for her, as this was the first time that she had ever even flew. She hit the treetops, which softened her descent, shook her head, and looked back up to the sky. Deidara was now riding on top of a huge dragon-like being made completely out of clay. She roared at the beast, and jumped off from the treetop to start zipping straight towards it. The dragon roared, and puked up a glob of the explosive clay. The glob was headed straight for her, which she just managed to avoid. But she didn't avoid the explosion that resulted in her being tossed across the sky yet again. She was able to regain her balance in the air this time, and flew back at the dragon yet again. It threw up another glob of clay, but she gave it a far wider berth this time, able to dodge the explosion. The dragon continued to vomit up more and more globs of clay, which she had to keep on giving wide berths, so she made very little progress in shortening the distance between the two. I need to be faster. Her mind came up with the solution to her plight. Be careful, little larva. Remember why you fight. The memory of her up on the Hokage monument, beside Naruto, came up to her mind. The memories of the first time that she had fun with another person. The memories of her first friend. The memories of Naruto. She continued to grab more and more of Chomei's chakra, until she had another set of wings on her back. Luckily enough, she was able to remain of sound enough mind to remember her goal. Up a clinically insane person's day. With her newfound speed, she zipped around, through, above, below, and towards the Mad Bomber on the Mad Dragon. When she got close enough, he tossed a clay structure at her. It turned into a giant spider, which wrapped around her torso, and blew up. Through the smoke, emerged an enraged Fu. She tackled him off the dragon, and onto the forest floor below. While plummeting to the earth at breakneck speeds, he somehow found the strength to smirk. His entire body started to expand to obscene levels. At the zenith of his expansion, he muttered, "Katsu." The explosion was far greater than any other he had shown before, and Fu was still hugging it when it went off. Down on the forest floor there was a limping, and thoroughly defeated Deidara. Where was that spider toy? He was supposed to help me capture the Jinchuriki. Yeah. He was limping towards the nearest HQ, which was extremely far away. He didn't have any detonating clay left, so he didn't think that he would be able to safely acquire the Jinchuriki. Leader Sama's gonna be pissed. Fu opened her eyes up. She felt breezy, queasy, and not very healthy. She slowly got from the prone position that she had taken when she had fallen from the sky, and started to limp in no particular direction. She found the spider freak, advanced to stage 2 curse seal, and dead. She was of such an unsound mind, that she didn't even register the sight of the dead bodyguard as strange. Why does my right side feel like it went through the blender? Fu looked at her right arm. All of the skin was completely burned off. The burn went all the way down to her right knee, extended across her chest, and even felt it on her face. She caught sight of Neji. He was collapsed on the ground, with multiple holes in and around his torso. The strength of her knees left her, and she fell on the ground. Fu didn't feel anything from the impact. She felt numb, she felt tired, she felt like she didn't even really care anymore. As her face was pressed into the grass, she smiled at the pleasant scent of the greenery. I think I'm just gonna take a nap. So that's what she did. Where am I? Naruto asked. He was in a hospital bed. He noticed that he was almost completely covered in bandages. There was also a mop of green hair resting on his thigh. Fu. His leg up and down a few times. But she was out cold. He breathed out a sigh. What happened? Naruto furrowed his brow in preparation for hard thinking. There was that weird spider guy, and that weird explosion guy. But Fu and Neji took care of them. Then there was this weird chick who kept on playing a flute, and a weird dude who was all hunched over, but Tenten and Tamari said they'd take of them. Then there was a weird one-person thing, with a guy who had red where the white parts of the eyes should have been, but Hana and Shikamaru took care of them. Then there was this weird bone guy, and a weird shark guy, but Yugito and Kiba took care of him. He began to get lost in his own thoughts. Okay. Then Sasuke jumped out of a barrel, and I chased him to a waterfall with a couple of statues there. Then we fought. Oh, I asked the Kyuubi for chakra. Then we fought some more. Then, he turned into something else. Then we fought some more, and he was unconscious, and I was about to drag him back to Konoha. Naruto started to rack his brain for answers for what happened next. That's right. Itachi was there after I smacked Sasuke Tem down. Then he looked at me. Naruto tried to think of anything else, but came up flat. Fu was still on his leg. He looked out the window. It had to be at least noon. Fu shouldn't be asleep. Hey Fu, he said a little more forcefully. He also shook his leg a bit more. She groaned and tried to sit up a little. I told you, I'm not leaving. She muttered out, without opening her eyes. She then fell back onto Naruto's leg and began to sleep again. Oi, wake up. It isn't healthy to sleep at noon. Naruto shouldn't really talk, considering that's when he usually woke up on the weekends. But he was also curious, and needed answers. She groaned again, and lifted her head up fully to look at Naruto straight in the eyes. Her eyes brightened considerably, and suddenly found the strength to immediately glomp onto Naruto. Fu began to shake and sob slightly on his shoulders. Naruto was extremely worried now. When she looked at him, he noticed that a portion of her face was a tone lighter than the rest of her face, and it looked like it traveled all the way down her body. In fact, he could see it on her back as well. He didn't really know to do anything else other than to awkwardly stroke her back, and wait for her to stop sobbing. She eventually quieted down, rested her head on his shoulders, and promptly fell asleep again. Fu was sitting on a chair next to his hospital bed, with her upper body leaned against his body. It didn't look like a very comfortable position. Naruto sighed, and dragged her onto his bed using her torso as a grip. The bed was a twin, so it was a snug fit, and he was hooked up to a lot of different medical machines, which made positioning weird. But he made it work. Naruto knew that it would be counterintuitive to interrogate Fu when she was in such an emotional state, so he settled on waiting for her to wake up naturally. His eyes began to droop. He was sleepy too apparently. Naruto settled up against Fu and decided that he needed a nap. So that's what he did. He woke up with a nurse trying to get Fu to leave. Hey, you can't sleep with him like that. The nurse was shaking Fu, trying to make her wake up. He opened his eyes, and murmured, "It's okay." The nurse gasped, and backed away. "I'm sorry, we should have been alerted that you were awake." What's wrong with everyone? He thought to himself. How long was I asleep? You've been out for 13 days. He was about to scream out a what, but caught himself before he could. Fu was still asleep after all. What happened with the mission? Where's Sasuke? The nurse looked slightly downtrodden. You should ask her when she wakes up. I don't have all the details. Right on cue. Fu raised her head. Wah, I'll let you have some alone time. She left the room. Fu, what happened with the mission? Naruto asked severely. She sat up from his bed, and started to stretch her body. After a sigh, she began. It was a failure. Your friend Sasuke was obtained by Orochimaru. Naruto looked down in sadness. Somehow he had been expecting that. Well, how is everyone? Fu looked away, evasively. Not so good. He looked at her with a hard stare. What do you mean, not so good? She sighed. Most of our team got seriously hurt. Kuritsuchi was in intensive for a week after they retrieved her. That Hinata girl was almost dead when they found her, and she was lucky that the reinforcements had blood transfusions and a skilled medic, or else she would have died. Naruto's eyes widened in horror. Neji almost died as well, he had a couple of holes in his chest. Some of my skin got blown off from an explosion. But it's okay. Tsunade was able to create some new skin for me. Fu said, trying to slightly soothe Naruto. It didn't work. What about everyone else? Hana, her Ninken, and Shikamaru all had various elemental damage, and had a lot of blunt force trauma. Temari and Tenten got sliced up bad, and were poisoned. Hiba and Yugito were cut up really bad, and both suffered from chakra exhaustion. Naruto started to look mortified. But don't worry, everyone recovered. What else? I don't think it's such. What else? I can take it. She sighed. The entire treaty almost fell apart. All the cages teleported back here and argued over whether they should still try to make the treaty work. Apparently Temari burst in and gave quite the rousing speech, because everything's okay now. Why would she do that? She wants peace between the nations. Fu said with a shrug. Oh, I guess that makes sense. All the cages left. Tsunade gave her inauguration speech, and everyone was really worried for you. What happened to me? You were comatose for 13 days and someone shoved a hand in your chest. Nobody knew if you were going to wake up. Fu started to tear up again. She looked at ground and sobs started to wreck her body. You're my best friend. You're my only friend. Please don't ever go away. She said in between sobs. He laid a palm on the top of her head. She looked up at him, and he gave her an eye-blinding smile. Don't worry, I can't die. Not until I become Hokage. A moment passed. A grin appeared on her tear-stained face. Thanks. She started to chuckle a little. What's so funny? Nothing's funny. I'm just really happy. Her chuckling was contagious, and it spread to Naruto. They both sat there for a while, laughing and crying like lunatics. Hee, I should probably go. You know, tell everyone that you're okay. Okay, Naruto said, slightly downtrodden. Oh wait, is the marriage thing still, like, a thing? She gave him a smile. Of course it is silly. She shut the door behind her. He leaned back on the pillows. He was really shocked when Fu started crying for him. Most of the condolences that he gave her were out of instinct, things that he didn't think about saying, but still did. Naruto didn't know that he meant so much to Fu, and finding out that he did was slightly frightening. The marriage between him and his wives was meant to be a forced ordeal. Something that they didn't want and was only done with the thought of the citizens of the elemental nations in mind. They weren't supposed to care for each other, they weren't supposed to love each other, they were just supposed to bear with the pain, and put up with each other the best they could. Yet even as he sat there in thought, he knew that Yugito, Fu, Kuretsuchi, and Temari meant a lot to him. Yugito felt like his older sister, scolding and comforting him when he needed it. Fu was like a close friend, there for him to teach him stuff, always smiling. Kuretsuchi was like a begrudging friend, always playing pranks, and getting into fights with him. Temari was kind of like the straight man, it's a comedy thing, look it up, always there to comment on the absurdity of the situation, and help reel them in. I guess that this is okay. Even if I can't find love, and even if they can't find love, this isn't the worst situation it could be. Somehow, in the 2 days and 3 nights that he had interacted with them, they had become precious people to him. I'm going to do my best to protect them. Make sure that they never get hurt again. He thought to himself with an air of finality about it. Hidden Akatsuki base. It took a while for everyone to get back and meet up again. This stemmed from all of their sustained injuries. Well, this whole operation was a colossal. Hidan started the meeting out. Says the religious nut who was defeated by a genin, so you don't have any room to talk. Yeah. Deidara capitalized, italicized, underlined, and bolded the word genin, just to show his sheer annoyance at Hidan. You were defeated by a genin too, so shut the up, before I sacrifice you to Jashin-sama. I was given faulty information. She wasn't supposed to know how to fly, but guess what? She could fly. I wasn't prepared. Yeah, what's your excuse? I couldn't see her, the little. But that brat was a main branch member of the Hyuga clan. I even stabbed her, but she still came at me, and shut down my chakra. So I stabbed her again. Hidan said with a manic smile, barely comprehensible. Kakuzu sighed explosively. I lost 3 hearts when the Hachibi showed up with some puppet user. I was supposed to take down the Ikibi, not the only Jinchuriki that could stab through my iron defense with lightning blades. Obtaining 3 powerful hearts is going to take a lot of time. And time is money. Kisame looked annoyed. I was supposed to take on the Nibi, but the Ikibi showed up too, along with some taijutsu freak. Sasori didn't show any outward emotion, but his tone spoke of annoyance. I was sidled up with a wind jutsu user and a throwing weapon user. They cut through my puppets like butter, and that foul-mouthed girl kept on putting me in genjutsus. All that artwork, lost. And just when I had them poisoned, some fat-ass IWA shinobi bailed them out. Didn't you kill them? I never confirmed the kill. Who was supposed to take the Kyuubi? Kisame asked. Hidan. But at the start, there were only 3 Jinchuriki, the other 2 came later with the reinforcements. So I didn't stop him from engaging the 2 Kunoichi that split off from the group. Kakuzu said. How did you manage to not get taken by Konoha shinobi? Sasori asked Hidan. I guess they didn't bother trying to tie down the guy who was stabbed in the heart, so when I woke up, I just walked away. Hidan said, smirking. Hey, Leader Sama, Orochimaru is going to pay. Yeah, Deidara said, brandishing his mouth hands. He got us 5 Jinchuriki, was able to separate them all, and provided you with support to capture them. That was the deal. That deal fell apart. He provided us a whole team of shinobi, and another whole team of reinforcements. Yeah, he kept his side of the deal. Don't go after him, you'll regret it. Pain logged off the hologram thingy. Quote. Hidan logged off. Everyone took turns logging off. Until only Itachi was left. No one found out. Good. He logged off as well. Naruto's hospital room. There was a knock on his door. Come in. A moment passed. Then another. Then another. Just when he was about to call out again, Hinata opened up the door, and stepped in. Hey Hinata. Are you okay? Fu told me that you got hurt bad. She was quiet. Is something wrong? Should I call a nurse? Naruto. She said quietly. Yes. I wanted to tell you. She paused and took a deep breath. When she had collected herself, she began again. Ever since I was little, I've looked up to you. When I felt self-conscious about my strength, I would think of you, and I would feel a little better, and I would try my hardest to get stronger. It's because of you that I fight. I just wanted to let you know that. Oh, thanks Hinata. Naruto said with a big cheesy grin. Naruto. I love you Naruto. This rendered Naruto speechless. He couldn't even grasp the concept of another person being romantically in love with him. Hinata. I don't know what to say. She had a small, sad smile on her face. You don't have to say anything. I know that you're in an arranged marriage, and that you won't be allowed to love anybody outside of your wives. I just wanted to let you know how I feel. Before he could talk again, she exited the room with great haste. He called out to her, but she was gone. Naruto felt like he was in a glass case of emotion. He needed to do something. He needed to get out the stifling bed that he was sitting in. He had to talk to someone. Naruto threw the covers off his person, and gingerly began getting out of his bed. He hadn't moved for the better part of 2 weeks, so his muscles were sore and woefully underused. He pulled off all the medical instruments on his person, got out of bed, and walked out of the room, wincing all the way. He walked until he saw a secretary at a desk. Can I ask you where someone is? He asked. Naruto needed to talk to someone, or ask for advice, or anything really. He needed to do anything other than think. Sure. Who are you looking for? Who was he looking for? Fu said that everyone eventually got better. But she also said that Kuritsuchi was in intensive for a week. There's no way that Kuritsuchi could be walking around after that. Kuritsuchi. No last name. She's in the recovery ward, that way. She directed him to the recovery ward. Naruto walked as fast as he could without causing him discomfort. Just when he was about to enter the door, it was opened from the inside by a big, burly man, with a pronounced lower jaw. He was really imposing. Who are you? Naruto Uzumaki. His eyes opened wide in surprise, then narrowed. So you're my stepson. Whatever Naruto was expecting, it wasn't that. Hi. It's an honor to meet you. The sentence that he uttered out turned into a question at the end. Mostly because he didn't know how to react in that situation. Kitsuchi did not look amused. Look, I know that Kuro followed you on her own volition, but, his hands balled into fists, and turned into rocks. If you ever hurt her, treaty or not, I will end you. Saying what he wanted to say, Kitsuchi walked away from him. With trepidation, Naruto entered the room. Hey shithead, you're awake. Sorry about my pops. He can be a bit overwhelming. Kuretsuchi didn't look good. She had an unhealthy pallor on her face. There was a general air of weakness that surrounded her entire being, and she seemed slightly meeker than usual. Hey Pinkatsuchi, he said with a cheeky grin. He might have been having some personal problems, but he knew that she needed some cheering up. Hey yourself, Baldy. Naruto furrowed his eyebrows in confusion. You know, because I covered you in shaving cream, and you threw a hissy fit. Oh, that's right, I remember. A lot has been going on, hasn't it? He smiled sheepishly. I suppose, she said weakly, closing her eyes. Oh, I'm sorry, you probably want some rest time. Nah, it's fine. My eyes are a bit sore, that's all. In truth, it's getting really boring around here. Don't you have any visitors? Well, my dad got permission to teleport here, but other than him, Akatsuchi, and the rest of my sister wives have not gotten a lot of other visitors. Not even from the retrieval team. Well, that Shikamaru guy came over once, but he mostly dropped by to make sure I wasn't dead. She gave a light, humorless laugh. A slightly comfortable silence descended upon them. Hey Kuretsuchi. Yeah, can I ask you for advice? I'm not going anywhere. Thanks. Yua. So, okay. Hypothetical situation time. You really like this guy, like this guy means all the world to you. Okay. And this guy never really returned your affections, but you still really like him. And you recently find out that you can never date him, ever, because of personal reasons. She looked at him. And, well, what do you do? I've never been in love, so I can't say what I would or wouldn't do. I can tell you to forget about her, but you probably wouldn't take too kindly to that, would you? I can tell you to try and find someone else to love, but unless you truly love any of us, that wouldn't do any good. I can tell you to give up on love, but that's too morbid, and I don't like that. Naruto sighed. Yeah, don't worry. I think I've given up on her. Oh, yeah, all I've ever wanted was for her to be happy, to see that smile on her face. But I won't be able to make that happen. Not while I'm married to 4 other people. So, you've thought about this a lot, haven't you? Okay. Next hypothetical question. There's this guy that you don't really know. He's kinda nice, but really shy, and you don't know a lot about him. And out of the blue, he suddenly confesses to you. But you won't be able to date him because you're married, and he confessed to you, even though he knew that you're married. She gave him a strange look. You've been having a tough day, haven't you? He nodded. Okay. If she confessed to you, even though she knew that you're married, and won't be able to love her back, then that sounds like she just needed to get it off her chest. Look, she wouldn't have confessed to you if you were just a passing fancy. The fact that she confessed sounds like she just needed catharsis. Catharsis. It means release. She confessed to you, because if she didn't, she would have never been able to get over you. Oh, thanks Kuretsuchi. You're kinda smart. Nah, I just remember hearing about a similar situation, and my pops explained it to me. Another comfortable silence fell upon them. What happens if we meet up again? Like, what am I supposed to do? I don't know what you should do, shithead. Wow, thanks. I feel so much better. Naruto said flatly. Well, I've never been in this situation before. I can only give advice when I have advice to give. Naruto sighed. Fair enough. The door was flung open with a bang. In the doorway stood Yugito, who sighed in relief. She looked to her side and shouted, "He's in here." Yugito collected herself and walked in calmly, then Fu came flying in, and Tamari walked in sedately afterwards. We were worried when you weren't in your bed. Yugito stated. Oh yeah, I probably should have left a note or something. Naruto laughed sheepishly. Yugito didn't look amused. Don't ever do something stupid like that again. What? Don't ever make me worried that I wasn't able to protect the people precious to me. He noticed that Yugito had received a few more scars on her person, most notably a scar that went from the top of her temple and curved all the way to her chin. Tamari also got a few more nicks on her, but they were red and splotchy. Probably a side effect from the poison. This made Naruto contemplative. Look guys, I'm really sorry. Temari raised an eyebrow. Sorry for what? Naruto looked at Kuretsuchi in her hospital bed, at Fu's mismatched face, at Yugito's scaring, and at Temari's signs of poisoning. You all got really badly hurt because of me, because of the mission that I went on, and you went on with me in order to protect me. I've got to get stronger, so I can protect you all. Yugito laughed humorlessly. You need to protect us. Says the guy who got a hand shoved in his chest, and went comatose for 2 weeks. If anything, we need to protect you. Do you really have such little faith in our abilities as shinobi? Temari asked. Yeah, I mean, I was seriously worried when I heard that you might not wake up. And so was Yugito, and so was Kuretsuchi, even if she didn't show it, and so was Temari. We need to get stronger to protect you. Fu said. It wouldn't do the treaty any good if you up and died on a mission. Kuretsuchi stated. Naruto looked at all of their faces. They were the faces of people who were convicted to a cause. A cause to protect him. Okay. We'll all get stronger. Together. We'll beat down anybody who wants to hurt us. We'll defeat the Akatsuki. We'll protect the elemental nations. He stood up and put his fist out. They all met him at the center, signifying their resolve to help protect not only each other, but also the peace of the elemental nations. Oi, except for Kuretsuchi, because she was stuck on a hospital bed, and could barely move. They all awkwardly shuffled to the bed, so Kuretsuchi would be included as well. After maintaining that position for several moments, they all broke apart. So that's all well and good, but how do we go about getting stronger? Kuretsuchi asked. After I gave my speech to the cage, they said that they were planning on sending Naruto around the villages in a random pattern so he could train with the different shinobi there, and help with trying to change their perceptions. But that was the plan for before he went comatose. I don't know how if it changed since then. What about us? Kuretsuchi asked. We would stay at our villages, and train with Naruto when he came around. Ah, I want to see what the rest of the world is like. Fu whined. Isn't as slightly counterintuitive for only Naruto to go around the nations? What about Konoha changing its perceptions? Yugito asked. I don't know. Temari stated. Well, I'm awake now. Why don't we just ask her? I don't see why not. Yugito stated. They all began to walk to the door, but Kuretsuchi interrupted them. Hey, can you take me with you? Is that okay? I feel good enough. Someone might need to push me in a chair, but I really need to get out of this room. Please. If you're sure that you're okay. Naruto opened up the room's medical drawer, and pulled out a collapsible wheelchair. You sure know your way around the hospital. Temari commented. I got sent here all the time when I little. Training accidents, you know. There's emergency everything here. He unfolded the chair. Do you need help? He asked Kuretsuchi. I'm fine. She raised herself from the bed, and slowly made the movements to get onto the chair, but slipped. Luckily Naruto was there to catch her, and gingerly lowered her down to the chair. Well, that could have been really bad. Naruto said. Whatever. Onward, my gimpy steed. Kuretsuchi said, with her hand pointed towards the door and her index finger extended. On your word, Pinkatsuchi Haim. Don't call me that. Don't be like that. Princess Pink Rock has a nice ring to it. Naruto started to push her out the door. I swear to, if you ever call me that again, I will encase you in cement. Hee hee. If I die, who'll you need to get stronger for? Who says it'll kill you? Naruto got really scared. They walked down the hospital, checked themselves out and made to the academy administration. Hey Temari. How were you able to convince the cage to continue with the treaty? I basically just said that you're too stubborn a guy to ever let going into a coma stop you from your goals. Is that what happened? Kuretsuchi asked. Her face went to her trademark mischievous mode. I didn't know you thought so highly of him. You don't have a thing for him, do you? Stoic-chan. Temari and Naruto lightly blushed under her ministrations. Of course I don't. He's just a means to obtain peace. She said defiantly. Oh, of course, Stoic-chan. Just a means to an end. Whatever you say. What do you mean by that? And stop calling me a stoic. Oh, nothing really. I just noticed that you never really talk to him when you're together, and you think highly enough of him that you think he can stop all the war in all the elemental nations, and that he did save your brother from insanity. Wah. How do you know what he did to Gaara? So you don't deny the other 2 points. How does me not talking to him signify affection? Who knows? Stoic-chan might be a dander. I'm not, and the only reason that he's able to stop all war in the elemental nations is because his dad messed up big time. Ouch. You might hurt your boyfriend's feelings with those sharp words of yours. Tamari looked like she was about to explode, but her angry face quickly turned mischievous. Oh, and what about you? Playing pranks on him, yelling at him, complaining about him. If I didn't know any better, I'd say that you're acting out just to get his attention. Kuretsuchi didn't look fazed in the slightest. Yup, that's right. I love Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze. This was said with implied sarcasm. Kuretsuchi was saying this loudly enough that the people who were walking next to them had no choice but to acknowledge her ravings. He's the light to my darkness. He's the reason I get up every morning. He's who I fantasize about every night. If I can't have his love, I'll kill myself. Kuretsuchi was giggling now, and was barely able to articulate her words of incredibly sarcastic affection. I wanna have Naruto Uzumaki's children, and brag about those blessed children to all my stone countrymen. Naruto was extremely uncomfortable at this point. Only the thoughts of his whiskered face, of his blonde hair, of his strong physique get me through the day. It is only because of holy shit. Looking at the entourage of Naruto and his wives was the father of Kuretsuchi, Kitsuchi. His face spoke of severe disappointment, and after beholding his daughter, and her ravings of love, he slowly walked away. No. Shitface. Walk me over to my dad. She shouted, somehow managing to find the power to do so, even in her extremely weak state. He began to run in his direction, but Kitsuchi flashed away in a body flicker, before Kuretsuchi was able to tell him that her exclamations of love were only a joke. She screamed out in frustration, which cracked midway through. Lowering her head in embarrassment, shame, and all-around disappointment, she decided to stop talking for the day. See what happens when you joke around all the time. Tamari said to her in a chiding tone. Wanna see what happens when I clog your urethra full of cement? Kuretsuchi said quietly, in a rasp, without bothering to raise her head. Oh, what was that? I couldn't hear anything over the thoughts of you having to confront your dad after he heard your screams of wanting to get pregnant. Shut the up. It was supposed funny. Indeed it was, and everyone other than Kuretsuchi was having trouble keeping in their amusement. Fu couldn't bear it anymore and started laughing uproariously. This set off a chain reaction among the group, where even the usually cold Yugito was laughing silently at Kuretsuchi's expense. This is what happens when you imply sarcasm instead of using it. Implying sarcasm is saying things that would be so strange and outlandish that people brush it off as untrue or as humor. Using sarcasm is the changing on one's tone of voice to insinuate that what they are saying is untrue. Kuretsuchi implied sarcasm, but her father apparently didn't understand it as humor. Naruto had a deep understanding of both terms. You can't spell smartass without smart, after all. Don't worry my precious Pinkatsuchi Haim-sama, I could never bear the thought of you being embarrassed. To make my dearest love happy again, I'll do anything I can do to clear up any misunderstanding with her father. Naruto said, using sarcasm, instead of implying it. Wouldn't want any misunderstandings, would we? She grunted. They spent the rest of their walk to administration in relative silence, with the group bursting out in laughter at random points. It's kinda weird how everyone's staring at us. Fu whispered. It was true, everyone was staring at them walk. Naruto didn't notice it before, due to him being distracted with pushing Kuretsuchi, along with her and Temari's interactions and antics. But the way that they were staring was different than usual. There was a motley of feelings being portrayed on the faces of the people of Konohagakure. There was confusion, disappointment, and even genuine remorse. Has this been happening since I went comatose? No, but I have been getting some weird stares after the inauguration. I guess it must be because I'm married to the guy who's the son of the most famous person in Konoha. But I wasn't present for the speech, so I don't know how people recognize me. Fu said. You're wearing a waterfall headband on your arm. People can connect dots, you know. Tamari said. Yeah, but still, I'm used to getting stares, but these are different. They all nodded in agreement. They were all people who garnered attention and were generally known by the common people. Being direct relatives of Kage, Jinchuriki, or holders of a Kakei Genkei would do that to people. And after noticing the stares, it was hard to ignore them. Luckily they were close to administration by then, and they weren't bothered much by the stairs along the short walk into the building. Kuretsuchi was presented with another problem. Namely being more stairs. Get it? It's a pun. They were being bothered by the stares of the people, and now they're getting bothered by physical, walking stairs. Your extremely humble author continued to laugh to himself at his own joke. Getting back to the story. Naruto wasn't strong enough to pick Kuretsuchi up and walk upstairs with her. Ninja were touted as being extremely physically strong, however ninja usually prefer to work on speed when considering physical care. Being strong, and being able to lift things up is all well and good, but one is capable of inflicting almost as much damage by transferring the momentum of their speed upon their target, and they get to remain agile and dexterous without the bulky body that becoming strong would entail. That wasn't to say that Naruto wasn't strong. He just wasn't strong enough to safely pick up a girl, who much more mass than him, in his situation, in a wheelchair, and lift her upstairs. Oi, shithead. Kuro wants up, she said, while lifting her arms in a childlike manner. Yugito sighed and picked her up by her armpits, and placed her on her back in the piggyback position. You want your bottle too? Give it. I want it, Kuretsuchi said, continuing the joke. The rest of the group was holding back more laughter. Aren't babies a bit young to be having babies? Tamari asked. This immediately drew Kuretsuchi's ire. Shut up, Stoic-chan. They all walked up to the administration room in different states of amusements. It ranged from no amusement at all, to extreme amusement in all forms. Upon opening the door, they were greeted with Tsunade loudly and pronouncedly stamping a document. It appeared that she did so with great enthusiasm. Sitting across from her was a man with blue hair, an eye patch, and seals on his earrings that read, Seal. A younger boy with light blue hair, filed teeth, glasses, and a huge bandaged sword on his back, and a mature-looking woman wearing a slightly revealing blue dress, red lipstick, and had her hair up in a herringbone pattern that reached her thighs. Naruto. You're awake. I knew that getting knocked comatose wouldn't keep you down for long. So this is him. The woman across from Tsunade said with a smile. Yup. It's funny timing with Naruto and his wives all here. Naruto Uzumaki, meet your newest wife. Mei Terumi, the leader of the rebel faction of the Hidden Mist. Silence reigned upon the entire room. So much silence. An absolutely inappropriate amount of silence. You've gotta be me. Nope. Tsunade said with a smile. With this marriage, all the 5 elemental nations are together in a pact to no longer wage war. Hi honey bear, Mei said flirtatiously. Naruto sighed. Whatever. I am so done with this. Temari's eyebrow rose. I thought you'd throw a larger hissy fit than that. Being married to 5 people isn't much different than being married to 4 people. Oh, how impersonal, my adorable little husband. Mei said with an eye twinkle. Chojuro and Ao sat quietly, just soaking in the situation. She's kinda scary. Fu whispered. Yeah, why's she talking to me like that? Isn't she a bit too old to be perving on a teenager? Naruto asked. A tick mark formed on Mei's eyebrow. My little husband, you know, you shouldn't comment on a woman's age. You shouldn't be married to me. I'm 13, I shouldn't be married to anybody. Well, you seem to have failed stupendously on that front. She replied cheekily. Naruto's sweat dropped. Whatever. I'm done. Hey granny. Yeah brat. And stop calling me granny. She yelled at him hotly. How are the living arrangements going to work? He asked, dismissing the accusing yell. Cooling down, she replied, you are going to go around the elemental nations to visit your respective wives' country to train. Every 5 rotations, one of your wives are going to come back to Konoha with you to train there. How often is a rotation? Yugito asked. About a week or so. Isn't Mist in a civil war right now? Wouldn't it be kinda dangerous to go there? Tamari asked. He'll stay at their main hidden camp. Mei has assured me that it's safe. When is this happening? It was supposed to be implemented when Naruto woke up. Not knowing when or if he was going to wake up was going to be a bit of a problem, but it seems to have solved itself. Sue, I'm leaving. Now, Naruto asked. Your wives will be, but you need a bit of time to set your affairs here in Konoha. She looked at Naruto's wives. You all get your stuff and get back here to teleport back to your countries. She pushed a little bit of chakra into a seal on her desk, alerting the Hiroshima team. Naruto, you need to give me the report of your mission, sign off your ownership on your previous apartment, get your stuff, and get back here. You'll be going to lighting with Yugito first. Can't I say goodbye to all my friends? The vast majority are all on missions. I believe that the only person here among your friends in Hinata Hyuga. Oh, then that's okay. I'll be fine. You sure? Yeah, I'm really sure. Okay. You four. Dismissed. She said, referring to the four wives of Naruto. They all filed out the door with nary a complaint. Naruto, I need your report on the mission. Well, it's kinda hard to remember, but after I left Yugito and Kiba to that fish guy and the bone guy, I chased Sasuke Tem to a giant waterfall with two statues on either end. We fought for a bit, but then he used that weird curse seal, so I had to ask the Kyuubi for chakra so I could beat him. You asked? Yeah, I'm asking him it from now on. Okay, continue. We fought some more, but he turned into this weird monster thing. So I asked for more power from the Kyuubi. We fought some more, and our last blow knocked him out, and stabbed me in the chest. I was about to drag him home. With a stabbed chest. Mei asked. Yeah, nothing's gonna keep this shinobi down. Naruto said, with a glinting smile and a thumb pointed in his direction. My husband gets more attractive by the moment. Mei said lustfully. Naruto's sweat dropped and shuffled away from Mei. After that, Sasuke's older brother came over, looked at me, and that's the last thing I remember. Itachi was there as well. Tsunade began rubbing her temples. Why does this shit keep happening to me? You're complaining. Yeah, I'm complaining, brat. I've had to broker a peace treaty between 4 leaders of hidden villages, convince them to place a Hiroshima seal tag on their hidden village, deal with the fallout of that shitty mission, tape the treaty back together using goodwill, spit and duct tape, and on top of all of that, I have to hear about you complaining about being married to 4 chicks. 5 now. Oh yeah, well I've just learned that the person who sealed the giant Kyuubi in my gut was my dad, who was the 4th Hokage, that I'll never get to fall in love, that I'll always be married to not only a person, but people who will never get to feel love as well, and that I'm the main cause that they all got seriously hurt. Should we give you some time alone? Ao asked. No, you stay. We still have some things to work out. You, go over to your apartment and sign in off. Everything has already been boxed while you were comatose. Pack up everything that you might need, and meet back here, on the double. I'm still injured. No, you're not. You're just tired, and you need to move around some more. Naruto exited the building, grumbling all the way. My, what a tempered husband I have. Well, at least your husband hunting days are over. Ao said with a smile. Usually he would be threatened with death for even remotely mentioning her love life, but it seemed that her troubles were over, so that would make it okay to comment on it. Mei's form got cloaked in a black, viscous aura. Her eyes shone red, and, while smiling, she whispered, Ow, shut up. Or I'll kill you. He promptly cringed and scooted away from her. Why did you get mad? He squealed. They are. Ow, you shouldn't comment on a woman who is sensitive about her love life. How she feels about marriage is her deal, and hers alone. Chojuro added tentatively. Her face turned suddenly to Chojuro, without changing the harshness of its nature. Chojuro, shut up, or I'll kill you. He too cringed away from Mei. Tsunade began rubbing her temples. Why are all the strongest shinobi the weirdest? In the distance, Tsunade faintly heard a scream of youth. At Naruto's apartment, Naruto looked around. He was standing in the home that he had lived in all his life. The place that held him, gave him somewhere to sleep, and protected him from the outside. And this was the last time he was going to see it. He sedately moved to the bed, and sat down on it. All his time being awake recently, had been taken up with learning about new things that majorly affected his life, spending time with his wives, or being sent on a mission. He hadn't had any time to actually sit down and think. Not that he usually does that sort of thing, but still, he needed some peace and quiet. And that's what he got, until Jiraiya opened the window and jumped inside. Hiya brat. Naruto turned to look at him, not being fazed in the slightest. Hey pervy sage, he said flatly. What's wrong with my bundling barrel of joy? Why are you so happy? Because I'm so proud that my little boy bagged a cougar. He wiped a fake tear from one of his eyes. Perv, I am so not in the mood right now. His face turned serious. What's wrong, brat? Naruto was having trouble articulating his words. I just feel like the world's been going really fast. Serious, major things have just been happening, with no time to adjust, with no time to wonder if that change is for the better. I just wish that things would slow down. Jiraiya sat down on the bed with Naruto. Yeah, brat, I hear ya. But hey, at least everyone else in the village can empathize with you a little now. What? No more war. Trade agreements aplenty. The odium of their hate turns out to be the only thing holding it together, and on top of that, he's the son of the most revered Hokage ever. Things are changing rapidly, and everyone has to cope with it. Are all the people married to 4 no, 5 strangers? Are they all unable to find love? Naruto said vindictively. What are you going on about not being able to find love? I'm sure that you'll find it, brat. But I can't be with anyone outside my wives. So don't. That Fu girl looks like she likes you, and so does that Yugito, and that Kuritsuchi. But I don't love them, and I am extremely sure that they don't love me. But you might, and they might. Kid, love isn't a singular thing, you won't feel love for only one person in your lifetime. Things change, and you have to cope. If you won't be able to find love outside your wives, try to find it inside your wives. Naruto sat in thought for a while. Love is weird. Jiraiya started guffawing, scaring Naruto at the suddenness of it. You got that right, kid. Love is a weird, cruel, up mistress. But, being human, you have to find some way to please her. But what about them? If I can't date outside the marriage, I doubt they can as well. If I fall in love with one of them, the rest will be alone for the rest of their lives. Who said that you have to love just one? Huh. Listen, kid, it's been said once, twice, and multiple times over, but you are in a unique situation. Do you think that they haven't thought about that? I can guarantee you that they all have. But isn't it wrong to be with multiple people? Says the kid with 5 wives. You know what I mean, you pervert. Jiraiya sat in silence for a while before continuing. If they acknowledge it, and they all are okay with it, I don't see why you can't be with all of them. Naruto sat in silence as well. What about Yugito and Mei? They're a lot older than I am. Well, once you begin to bridge that gap, I doubt they'll have much of a problem being with you as well. Naruto's sweat dropped. People don't age at different frequencies, pervert. The difference between a 13-year-old and a 28-year-old is a lot larger than the difference between a 17-year-old and a 32-year-old. But it's a unique situation, and everyone's going to have to learn to deal with it in their own way. They sat there for a moment longer. Thanks, pervert. I actually kind of feel better now. Even if I doubt that they'd all agree to date me all at the same time. There's nothing that perversions can't fix. Jiraiya said with a glint of the teeth. Naruto looked at Jiraiya flatly. There are so many reasons why that is false. Naruto got up, and went over to the clipboard that was meant to sign his apartment down on one of the boxes close to him, and started signing its release. I'm really going to miss this place. Naruto looked up suddenly, in realization. Where am I going to put all my stuff? I'll be going around to new houses every week. I can't take this stuff. Jiraiya got up as well. I'll just seal it all for you. You can do that. Kid, you'd be surprised at what sealing could do. I'll have to learn some on my training circuit. Jiraiya began to wordlessly seal away the boxes into various sealing scrolls. Hey kid. Yeah, perv sage. I think that you should give up on Sasuke. That statement hit him like a train. Why? Because so long as you chase him, you will never feel happy. Look, pervy sage, he's one of the very few people in this world who knows how I feel. We're on the same team, and I am going to get him back. He'll never go willingly with you. Then I'll just break his legs, and drag him back. Naruto said immediately. So long as you try to bring someone consumed with vengeance back to where you think that person's home is, you will never be happy and neither will he. People with vengeance don't perceive anything as being their home, as anyone worth coming home to. And how would you know? Sasuke acted almost synonymously with how Orochimaru acted when he deserted. Kid, you are surrounded by people who have felt what you have felt. Why don't you just plug up that hole that Sasuke left with them? Like how you use sake and women. He said vindictively. Exactly like how I use sake and women. These things distract me from the feeling of emptiness that being a shinobi for as long as I have gets you. But you have actual people. Actual people who you can love and be loved by. Actual people who can distract you from that pain. I'm not going to feel that pain. Because I refuse to give up. Because that's my ninja way. This world is surrounded with pain. Even with all the major ninja villages coming together and deciding not to kill each other anymore, there will be pain, there will always be pain. Then I'll do my best to eradicate that pain. Jiraiya looked at Naruto with widened eyes, but quickly looked back down. I still think you should give up on Sasuke. But you won't back down and neither will I. So promise me one thing, kid. What? Get stronger, so you'll never feel the pain that Sasuke will shove on you. Naruto nodded his head. I'll get stronger and I'll get Sasuke back. Jiraiya got back up, and handed the bunch of scrolls on to Naruto. You better get back to Tsunade. I've heard that Cloud is lovely around this season. How do you know I'm going to Cloud? I'm not known as a renowned shinobi spymaster for nothing, you know. Whatever you say, pervert. House that Naruto and company occupied. Yugito was having a tough time. This was mostly due to the fact that she had been relegated as Kuretsuchi's aide, and was forced to carry her up the stairs, cook for her, seal all her stuff, and talk to her as company. It was the last one that really grated on her nerves, however. I cannot wait for when he switches over to Iwa. I don't care. Yugito was currently folding Kuretsuchi's clothes, and preparing them to be sealed into a scroll, while Kuretsuchi was venting from her reclined position on her twin bed. I am so going to get him back for making my pops think that I want his kids. It was your own damn fault. I'm going to cement him in the middle of Iowa, and leave him there for the day. That's really harsh. Or I'm going to sneak into his shower. How bold. And spray him with quicklime. How cruel. Or I'll slice him up just a little during our training. You are slightly deranged. Or I might just get to accidentally castrate him. You are extremely deranged. Yugito decided to butt in. Don't you think that you're being a little harsh? That kid has been nothing but trouble to me ever since I met him. What's he done? He dyed all my clothes pink. You declothed him in front of his friends. He's the reason I almost died. You volunteered for that mission along with the rest of us. My dad thinks I want his kids. That's your own damn fault. Kuretsuchi sighed in exasperation. There's just something about his face that I don't like. Well, maybe if you gave him a chance. Who are you? His mother. I'm just a non-involved person who's looking at a tsundere doing the equivalent of writing love sonnets. I'm not a tsundere. Yes, you are. You have trouble externalizing your affections to our little, blonde-haired husband, and mistakenly convert that into physical and verbal abuse. Kuretsuchi looked personally offended. I have no affection for him whatsoever. So you say, Pinkatsuchi. Even Yugito was getting in on the fun of calling Kuretsuchi by her nickname. So I say. And stop calling me that. Will you admit to being a tsundere? But I'm not a tsundere. Says the Pinkatsuchi in denial. AAAARRRRG. I swear, he's turning you into him through osmosis. Yugito blushed slightly. What do you mean by that? Oh please, I know that you snuck into the hospital to cuddle with him in his comatose state. I've been having trouble sleeping, Yugito defended indignantly. So you cuddle a person who's comatose? Yes, Yugito replied, without missing a beat. That's not a good thing. But, he's really cuddly. Yugito replied monotonously. How cuddly is he that you sneak out of the house, break into a hospital, and cuddle up to him while he's in a coma? Have you ever slept with him? Kuretsuchi blushed at the not-so-hidden meaning in that question. Not all of us are so willing to sleep with the first guy we're arranged into a marriage with. Well, he's really cuddly. Yugito's monotonous replies were getting slightly creepy. Kuretsuchi's sweat dropped. So I've picked up. Yugito finished folding Kuretsuchi's clothes, and sealed them into the scroll. She then proceeded to pick Kuretsuchi up from her spot on the bed, and put her in piggyback position. While Kuretsuchi continued to vent, she went downstairs to meet up with Tamari and Fu. They all left for administration together. What took you guys so long? Tamari asked. We were having a discussion. Kuretsuchi stated. More like you were venting your relationship problems to me. We're in the same relationship. I'm venting our problems. People perceive different things to be different problems. Kuretsuchi deadpanned. What's your relationship with him anyway? He's my husband. Yugito said, unsure of what the question was asking. No, I mean, how do you perceive him? As my husband. You think of him as your husband? Yes. Okay. I'm not explaining this properly. I don't think of his as my husband because we don't do and haven't done anything that a married couple should have gone through. To me, he's just the guy that I'm shackled up with for life. What is your emotional connection with him? He's a precious person who you're going to protect. Yeah, I've heard this all before. My dad is a person precious to me, and I'm going to protect him. Precious people can be anyone to you. What is he to you? Why are you asking this so suddenly? I was joking around when I started calling you a shotacon, but now I am genuinely worried that you're going to jump his prick. Yugito started to blush. I'm not going to force myself on him. He's 13, and I guess that he's kind of like a little brother to me. She decided. Fu decided that this was the most opportune time to interrupt. I know what he is to me. He's my friend. I don't know him well, but he did save my brother from insanity. So I'm not going to immediately write him off. Tamari said. Huh. Kuritsuchi didn't say another word until they hit administration. They all met up with Tsunade, Mei, and her escorts at the administration room, where they were forced to wait some more for the Hiroshima team. You know Mei, maybe you shouldn't tease the kid. Ao said. Why? He's just so adorable when he gets flustered. That wasn't him being flustered. That was him being worried by his surroundings. Mei sighed. Okay, I'll stop teasing him. Honestly, there's not a thing that's fun that I get to do anymore. You are the leader of the rebellion. The people are supposed to look up to you. Which means that you can't tease children. But he's my husband. But he's a child. Mei sighed again, but remained quiet. So why did you decide to offer yourself for this marriage thing? Tamari asked. What do you mean? Don't you have any underlings that would have made for better candidates? Well, you were all chosen either because you are related to the cage, or you're a really influential individual in your village. The rebellion doesn't have that. Or at least any women that would fit the role. So I offered myself. How old are you really? Kuritsuchi asked. Like, shouldn't you be more worried that you're shackled to a child for the rest of your life? I'm 28. Really? You look more mature than 28. Should you really be mocking the cage-level shinobi about her age? Mei said with her sweetest smiles. No, you just look mature. Like you've lived longer. This isn't making me feel any less want to melt you. No, it's just that you're really hot in a more mature way. Kuritsuchi said quickly. Mei's overtly sweet smile became slightly less overt. Thanks. I think. And to answer your other question, I'm sure that he's going to grow up to be an absolutely ravishing specimen. Tsunade's sweat dropped. If I hear any reports of unwanted advances, this deal is off. Mei waved Tsunade off. I know. Age of consent. Tsunade's sweat drop enlarged, and was about to admonish Mei, but was interrupted by the Hiroshima team all suddenly coming into being. What happened? Why did it take so long for you to arrive? Tsunade asked. I was taking a nap. Genma replied. Tsunade got a tick mark on her forehead. I gave you one job. 1. Stay on standby for the Hiroshima if I need to transport dignitaries across nations. And you that up. Genma didn't look very affected by the cage-level shinobi yelling at him. I'm sorry. The technique takes a lot out of you. She stood up. You haven't been used for weeks. I've been mentally disposed as of late. With what? I'm not at liberty to say. Tsunade looked to be on the verge of breaking her desk, again. But she managed to rein in her anger. Sitting down, she said, if it happens again, you're demoted to Chunin. Fair enough. Naruto busted through the doorway carrying a bundle of sealing scrolls. Hey, granny. He took stock of the situation. I thought you said that everyone had be gone by now. They were supposed to be, but this asshat, she pointed to Genma, was mentally disposed. Okay. I have no idea what that means. None of us do. Get in the formation and send Yugito and Naruto to Cloud. Tsunade barked towards the bodyguard unit. They all scrambled to do so. After getting into the triangular formation, Genma said to Naruto and Yugito, get in. Naruto and Yugito walked in between the group with trepidation. Clench your stomach. Genma warned. Then they immediately activated the jutsu. It was really disorienting. It's not that there was some sensation of the universe pulling you or something like that. He was looking at one thing, and then everything changed into something else in the blink of an eye. But Naruto didn't blink. So when he got whisked away to Cloud, he immediately stumbled out of the triangular formation, and fell onto the Raikage's desk, hitting his head and knocking him out cold. To be fair, Yugito didn't fare much better with her stumbling backwards and landing on her. This was the scene that almost scared I into defecating himself. Why did I put that seal in my office? He thought to himself. The Hiroshima team vanished again, with no report of what happened, as it was rather obvious. I looked at Yugito crawling back up from the ground and ordered, "Report." After she managed to stand back up, she professionally replied, "Naruto Uzumaki woke up from his coma, so the Hokage ordered that he immediately be sent to Cloud in order to start his training circuit." I leaned over his desk to look at the Uzumaki that was currently drooling on the ground in front of his desk. And then he managed to knock himself out again. Yugito finished. I rubbed his temples and sighed. I guess his training starts tomorrow. Yugito walked to the aforementioned Uzumaki, and picked him up. "I'll take him to my home." I nodded his head. Yugito's house was close to administration, so it only took an opened window, a few hops, and she was there with her new husband. Climbing in through the window, she was met with her apartment's Spartan interior that had collected a bit of dust since her excursion to Konoha. She walked over to her bed, and plopped Naruto down on it. Her bed was one of the few luxuries that she allowed herself. It was a queen, with a heated blanket, and a large amount of fluffy pillows. It didn't fit in at all with the rest of her bare apartment, but she didn't care. It was comfortable, but after discovering that she was a cuddler, she had been having trouble sleeping, and knew that when Naruto was away, she would have trouble finding rest. But that didn't matter now. It was afternoon, Naruto was fast asleep on her bed, and she didn't have anything better to do. It didn't matter if she managed to cuddle with Naruto while he was in the hospital. Waiting for all her housemates to fall asleep, sneaking out of the house, and waking yourself up before anyone in the hospital noticed didn't allow for much shut-eye. So she decided to catch up on her sleep, and after changing to her pajamas, she crawled in bed with him. She had really missed her bed. It was so comfortable, and that combined with the Naruto she had to cuddle up with sent her to blissful sleep almost immediately.